Good morning, all. Thank you so much for your time this morning. My name is Paul Watson. I'm the VP of Hospitality at Sona. A little bit about me before we start. I have, been with Sona since launch, and prior to Sona, I've been in workforce management for around 25 years. Before that, I was a learning development consultant. So people and team members and comms and culture has got a special place in my heart. And what I'm going to take you through this morning is to try and debunk some of the myths, or maybe even enlighten a little, if I can, about what AI really means within workforce management and how you can already grab hold of AI today, and you're probably all using AI in some form or other today. And hopefully just sort of explain some of the differentiators, because if you're like me, AI seems to be on every website. I've seen an AI washing machine, I've seen an AI iron. None of it seems to be kind of reducing the workload, but it has got some sort of AI component in there. So I'd just love to get, just to start us off, a show of hands. How many people here are using AI, either with work or personally? Brilliant, loads of you. Right, thanks for your time, and that's it, done. Okay, and then in terms of just another show of hands, how much have you sort of managed that rollout of AI across your businesses? How do you know, have you got a good AI strategy in your business about how tools should be used? A few, great, listen, amazing. So I'm taking the role of one of our founders, Ben Dixon, and our CTO, who usually does this speech. So I'm going to steal some of his analogies. So sorry if you've heard these before. We're in a really sort of strange place now with technology. I think we're at a generational change. Workforce management isn't a new thing. Probably 25 years ago, that's where we saw the first digitization of HR and scheduling for hospitality. And it was the first time that we looked at things like cloud computing, storing data away from an actual PC or laptop. Where AI has brought us, and during that 25 years, there has been introductions of AI along the way, predominantly around forecasting. And this is what I think is quite interesting, is that these large language models, I'm using lots of phrases here that a few years ago I had no idea what they meant. So large language models, which are looking at your data, looking at your sales data and trying to generate a forecast for you, etc. But the one area that it has never really been able to prove benefit or show value is around people. So hopefully in this session, I can explain to you, and appreciate this isn't a sales pitch of Sona, but maybe even show you if you're interested, but we're on a standout there if you want to see it afterwards, how AI as a feature can start to explain to you where your human capital, your team members, your employees, who's the next person to promote, etc., and unlocking some of those secrets. But we are at a turning point now. Where workforce management has been in place, so one of the analogies our CTO uses all the time is that right now you have got Teslas. Teslas will do the self-driving piece. They'll do the, really accurate collision avoidance stuff. And there are lots of YouTube channels out there where you see groups of people trying to enable a 1985 Ford Escort to be self-driving. And they have mixed success, but it certainly doesn't look quite as streamlined as a Tesla might do. There's lots of radars and bits and pieces sort of connected to it. And that's where I think we're seeing some of this this sort of uncertainty around, how does AI really help you to move forwards, and is it really here right now? What might be shocking to know is that in the US at the moment, there are 250,000 self-driving taxi journeys a week in San Francisco, so Waymo. So while we think, Tesla's self-driving, but will it catch on? 250,000 a week. That's people getting into a car with no driver being taken to their place of work. Amazingly, in Dublin, there are 1,500 drone deliveries every week. It's got to a point now where the children are no longer getting excited and going out into the garden to watch their pizza being delivered on a parachute down from a drone, because it's sort of every day. So at the beginning of this year, when we were talking about AI, I think we were saying, lots of businesses are professing to have it, and lots of companies, if you look on LinkedIn, seem to be quite ahead of the game. But if you looked at how many people in this room put their hands up to say they use AI, and then compare that to those who said, yeah, we've got an AI strategy across our business, not everyone's there yet. The other piece is, with all these badges, all of these AI washing machines and irons, is that there's an awful lot of repurposing of that phrase of AI to perhaps older functionality. So if you look at forecasting, it is, when large language models started out, they were probably considered AI because it was new, it was futuristic, it was something that hadn't been done before, and it was hard to get to. Sorry, I thought something was about to land on me from behind there. And it was hard to get to if people were doing it. Come in. If people were doing it. But you can't now say, oh yeah, that's AI as we understand it now. So in about February or March of this year, so this is how recent it is, the underlying functionality of AI has only really become available to be really considered useful in a business situation, other than reporting, other than aggregating data, other than generating forecasts. And the big word on there is agentic AI, or the phrase agentic AI. And this is where the big differentiator sits. So if we look at that analogy of the self-driving cars, you can probably put a chatbot or some layer of AI onto an older system, and it will do a very good job of finding out information and presenting it to you. Because it's sitting on the top of the solution and pointing downwards, it's going to have a very difficult job of understanding your rules and understanding how you want to work as an organization and actually enacting change. So if I put that into a real world scenario, your bookings increase. And at the moment, you might have an AI layer that sits over the top that says, hey, bookings have increased. Great. That's fantastic. I could have probably got that from a report, or I could have got that from our reservations team, but it is sort of sitting over that layer to say, hey, bookings have increased. Where agentic AI works is that it says, bookings have increased, and you've got 2 employees who have called in sick. Do you want me to create some shifts for you to cover those arrival times and departure times? And actually, while you're at it, you probably need some public area attendants and some cleaners, because it's 50 people that are coming in that was totally unknown when this rota was built. Do you want me to go ahead and create those for you? So it's not, I don't think we're in the world yet where the system is just running itself. But we are getting to a place now where the system can interpret your rules and understand the important things that make your business successful and drive those suggestions to managers to then actually approve or decline. Now, I think one of the really fantastic real-world examples of where we've seen this is, overlaying that into your people environment. So if someone is constantly late, you've probably got reports that you can go into and you can say, hey, I've got a feeling that this employee's late, or it's, I'm looking across and I can see they're late. But it's how it can sort of understand, again, that sort of agentic piece of, Paul is late consistently when you give them a shift that starts at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Perhaps you want to have a conversation with Paul to find out whether or not that shift actually works for them. Maybe they've got some other personal commitments, they're doing the school run, whatever it might be, or move the shift to a later start time so that actually it means that there isn't that pinch point. And then you start to overlay all of that with, what does that mean to the other employees? And actually, if people are constantly late, is it having an impact on other employees' well-being? Is it having an impact on your customer sentiment? And being able to ask those questions, or being prompted with that information, is where there is a seismic difference between an AI layer, which can sort of read from your reports, through to a I can combine lots of different bits of information, and I can work for different areas of the business, and I can present back findings, either on a daily or as they happen point, and allow you to take action or push you to take action. The key thing about hospitality, and this is something I learned very, very early when I started working workforce management for hospitality, no one gets into this job to build a rota. There's no head chef out there who picks up a knife for the first time and goes, can't wait to do a stock count. Oh, they might do, but I think they're few and far between. And you don't hire the greatest team members so that they can pore over systems. That evolution, that generational piece 25 years ago, digitized the workforce. I think we're now in a world where there's so much information and so much data that people are now almost back to the office and trying to interpret what it's telling them. We want to release that human capital. Sorry, that came across a bit sales pitchy. Agentic can release that human capital by actually nudging them and telling them. You know, if you're an Italian, this is a great example, Italian restaurant, you hire an Italian-speaking GM because you want to create that environment and that atmosphere. Do you want them to be front of house, pouring shots of limoncello and, you know, making sure that people are coming back? Or do you want them sat in an office somewhere trying to understand why their labor cost isn't quite right, or trying to understand why customer feedback isn't where it should be? So if we can embrace this sort of agentic AI functionality to give that person the insight, it really does release time. It really does help them get back to being front of house, either greeting guests, showing you where perhaps, if you're looking at a hotel aspect, being able to model, is your housekeeping rules and tighter around how long it takes to clean a room on an arrival versus a overnight stay. Are they being met? Are there improvements that could be met? Actually suggesting if you add an extra member of staff to housekeeping, it will allow you to get guests into rooms faster, that sort of thing. I've said lots of words. I'd love to know if there are any questions, and do please feel free to interrupt, or any thoughts on what's been shared at all. It's either a really good sign or a really bad sign. Andy, hi.
You've mentioned rules. At what point do you think we'll be able to get the systems to generate the rules for us?
Andy isn't a mole. This is a really good point. We're at that place now. I think, look, all of this sort of historical focus, I think, has always been, as I say, pointing towards scheduling. But actually, there's a lot more rules around headcount and around room cleanliness and all that sort of stuff. So we look at it, rather than the old-fashioned sort of stopwatch, how long does it take you to do this? We're looking at data-driven insight now. So I think where this sort of agentic layer has unlocked things is it can look at, across businesses, where the best sites are, and can tell you what the rules are that are being applied, or based on the data, based on the hours that are being used versus the amount of rooms and types of rooms and all of that lovely information. Here are rules that are maybe, you know, the top 25% of your business that are performing really well. Do you want to apply those rules to the next chunk? Does it fit? I think you have to sort of be considering with rules, and it's now, by the way, so to answer it quickly, it's now, it's there. It's also about ensuring that the rules that are being applied to different business areas are specific to that business area. The amount of times I speak to managers and they'll fall out of trust in a solution if one part of one day isn't quite right for their area of the business. So they will say, you know, that's not us. That's not us on a Saturday. That's not us on a Tuesday afternoon. Therefore, the rest of it is rubbish. And that hearts and minds piece is massive. You know, these are people that want to be successful. And if the system is showing them something that doesn't match what their business looks like, they'll just walk away from it. So, you know, you have to make sure the rules are correct for those different business areas, and you have to make sure that they are interpreted and understood correctly for managers. So, great example of this. How many of you well, I won't do that, but all of you here, I'm sure, will have loaded forecasts and budgets into a system, etc. What Agentic does for you is it shows you how that budget or forecast has been calculated. So as a manager, if I'm in a department and I'm going to run my business, be my department, I can actually click into it and see, okay, well, we've got bookings, we've got weather, there's a local event, there's this, that, or the other, and it explains it to the manager. Because where we have seen transition and change over the past few years is that the AI capability becoming more and more powerful, is that forecasting through a system now is probably starting to overtake the manager insight. You never want to take it away from the manager insight, but it's starting to overtake it. So I think that's where the agentic piece can actually challenge the manager to say, you've just suggested that your restaurant on a Saturday is going to take £600 more than the forecast. If I'm looking at your bookings, it doesn't support it, and you haven't done that for the last 4 weeks. I'm not going to stop you, but explain why. And at least it's giving the manager that kind of conversational piece of, oh yeah, actually, maybe I'm wrong here. And they can sort of address it before it becomes a problem. Any other questions or thoughts? Yes?
I think if you were feeding that information into an AI tool,
What?
Like for example, ChatGPT 5, would you be able to upload a spreadsheet into a ChatGPT 5? Or because there's a team.
Yeah.
It's got thousands now.
Yeah. And new ones are coming out all the time. And I think that it's a great question. I think the danger and where we have heard of businesses uploading financial information and business information into ChatGPT 5 is that it becomes sort of public. You can't lock it down particularly easily. There are ways, but if someone potentially, without thinking about how they're approaching something, goes, right, I'm going to upload my budget and my financial data, tell me what next year looks like, it will do a good job, but then that sort of becomes open source that someone else can find. And we've heard stories of where that's happened. I think where this isn't about saying it is about sort of constantly keeping up. Claude's very good. I don't know if anyone's heard of Claude. Anyone uses Claude? I heard another one this week, Lovable. They are literally sort of appearing from everywhere. I think the important thing is when you're looking at technology, find a technology that as AI improves and changes, so we've got 5 different models of ChatGPT now, that you can actually just interplace it. So in a year's time it'll be ChatGPT 8 probably. You don't want something that has been built on ChatGPT 5 and therefore it can't move forwards. But again, we can have lots of conversations because different tools I think are really good for different things. I use ChatGPT 5 all the time at the moment to build out models for our system. So I can go, go and build 2 years worth of hotel data. So I can upload it and then it can embed in the product and then I can ask questions of it. And I'm sure other tools will be better than that and other tools will be worse than that. But it's sort of where I think as well, when you find a model, the more time you spend with it. Who here says please and thank you to their AI product? I do. I even ask it if it's having a nice morning. You think I'm joking? I'm not, because I kind of think if I do that, it'll be nicer in return. But yeah, it's got a name, it's Arthur, and it knows how I like to interact. And now when I ask it, it knows sort of kind of what I expect. So I think one of the things you've got to be cautious of is kind of like hopping from system to system, because the more you use one system, the more it starts to understand how you work and interact with it. Oh, a question over there. Thank you.
So this is giving information from the head of department and staff. How does it present that information? How often is it real time? Is it the day after the shift report? And or what is it? Through email or an app? How does it actually get the information they need to make the decision what they need to do to write the system?
Again, not another mole or plant, I promise you. Right, so the question was, how do they get this information? So is it live? Absolutely. I think this is one of the things about agentic AI, is it needs more regular data going into it. So linking into products like Google reviews or feedback tools, bookings, 7 rooms, POS data. Over the years, it's always been extremely hard to get hotel booking data into any workforce management system. The products that were built 25 years ago, and I'm probably giving, I worked at Forth from 2006 to 2021, so that's why I know these systems. They weren't built API first. You can upload CSVs and things like that. With agentic and with modern platforms, APIs are just commonplace, so data can flow much more seamlessly into and out of solutions. To answer the question of how does the manager receive it, importantly, what do they need to receive? Because I think you can overshare. We like to get to a place of what are for each of those different departments, what are their absolute top business priorities? And don't give them everything. Give them one, work on that, then give them the next, or maybe give them the top 5, whatever it might be. And that can be email, that can be app. The one thing that I recognized over the years working in hospitality is that your managers, heads of departments, have got a really good relationship with their system. Your finance and payroll teams probably have as well, because they're running the reports on the back end of it. But there's a sort of middle core, and if that's restaurants, like area managers and regional directors, but equally there's a whole tranche of people that work within a hospitality setting that have no relationship to a workforce management product. So if I've had a couple of days off and I can pick up my phone and say, what's new since yesterday? Or I've not been able to get to all of my teams today. Who should I speak to and what should I speak to them about? And it can just go through that data, find it, give me my sort of 3 bullet points to talk to each team and go and speak to them. This isn't about replacing human interaction. It's not. It's about giving your team members the superpowers or the insight or the information you want them to have. Think of your very best managers. Think about how they approach work. Give that rule to an agent and then let that agent work as that manager for every other manager in your business. And it will just bring the levels up immediately. Scheduling is really important as well. That's the other part. So agentic isn't about, I'm going to ask the question and get the data back. And if you want to come and see a demo of it afterwards, more than happy to. We're literally, well, you can't walk through there, but we're in the corner around there. The demo environment we have, you can ask questions, but actually receiving that daily briefing, or at the end of the day, here's your report card to say, this is what's happened, I think is massive. And look, taking away from Sona as a supplier, as a workforce management, the key thing for you on any product that you look at is to really make sure that when someone says AI, it is agentic AI. It's not just AI, because you'll get that from dashboards. And actually that sort of goes back to your point there, is you could probably download that report, upload it to ChatGPT and get some insight, but there's quite a long process to get to there. Yes, hello.
We have advice that people starting out in an AI journey in their business are talking about an AI strategy. Build AI into your existing strategy. On that basis, you talk about scheduling and obviously workforce. But what 3 areas would you, if you're just embarking on, as many people do in the room because of the back show around, what are the 3 areas you would advise us to start on right now?
Crikey. So for me, I think because there has been in terms of approach, I actually think there's been so much work over the years around scheduling within hospitality businesses, is that I would actually be looking at how do you incorporate AI into HR functions, and what is fair usage. Like, what you don't want is, you don't want a system to replace I've got to go through the graphs, to managers just almost playing on it. When I first used ChatGPT, I was like, oh, create a picture of this, and it would just look crazy, but it's got better. When we put this in the hands of managers, or when you see managers starting to embark on an AI journey in products, they will probably be using it a little bit more heavily. So I think first of all, get it into HR's hands, and make sure you understand how those agents are going to work for different business areas, because everyone wants something different. If I'm in HR, I want to understand everything around who are the people I want to promote, who's the hidden talent, who are the next leaders, where's absence a problem. Actually, have I got managers that are cancelling shifts within 24 hours notice to try and claw back some of that percentage of wage spend versus revenue, and what impact's that having on employee net promoter score and customer feedback? Like, so understanding what are the problems you're trying to solve. I think HR has got a massive part to play in that, and how you look at bringing the insights and the actions to life. Huge. I think like the department managers, F&B, it kind of lands really well within F&B, because I think that allows them to understand things like, yes, workforce management, one thing, but if you're looking at agentic layers, you want to bring in things like cost of goods sold and all of these other sort of bits and pieces. So it's how do I know what are causing pinch points? What marketing activities are, driving extra occupancy, but what impact is that having on my customer workload and the restaurants, and is it a good thing to do or not? So it's such a very question. I'd probably need to think about like what the three things are, but I would say definitely HR, understanding how those agents need to interplay, and then I think really it's where the third one I would say is look at where you think right now within the business there's the biggest potential to improve, and if that helps. But come and have a chat with me when I digest it. But hopefully that's a good thing to say. Sorry, someone right behind you. And
yeah, well, I wanted to ask, since AI is constantly evolving, like now there's even automation, also the robots, and it's also like the new thing come out. Sintra AI is basically like employee robots in a way, which kind of have different functions. It can be for sales, it can be for service stuff. Do you think that in the long term that could replace jobs, like in the long term? Because then, like business owners technically wouldn't really need employees if the robots get advanced and be able to handle more complex environments. So that's my kind of thing with that.
I think for me, there will certainly be some industries where AI and like robots and things like that will cause a challenge. I think for hospitality, it's people first. I'm being waved at, and I've got to be quiet, or just not talk about this subject verboten. No, so it's people first. I think what it will do is it will enable people to do the things you want them to do, which is manage the problem, look after your guests, look after your employees, and just keep improving your customer offering. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you found it insightful. There is a QR code there if you want to scan it and talk to us.